to yet another episode of Beyond the Present podcast. My name is Daniel Morgan, and welcome to yet another great show here today. And before I get started, I want to thank all of my friends, especially the ones that I've recently made over WordPress.com, for their love. I just actually got a lot of great, positive feedbacks from the bloggers who use WordPress for their websites and their blogs for my latest article that I wrote, actually, titled Progress Check, 1 year after the pandemic. So I want to, first of all, thank you all for your kindness. It really means a lot to me. And honestly, I just, thought that perhaps writing these blog posts was something I should do perhaps, once every now and then. But honestly, the last feedback that I got from you guys meant a lot to me. And I'm really, glad to know that my blog on danmorgan.com is being read by the top bloggers. And your feedback was just amazing. You started following my blog. So I, first of all, would like to appreciate all of you for the kindness and for the love. And the very fact that that blog post became so popular, I think, was because it somehow, made a lot of sense for us at this moment, because we've been now in this very new way of living for almost a year now, probably more than a year, like a year and 2 months maybe for most of us. And we've been involved with this lifestyle for such a long time that we somehow have forgotten that we have to, start measuring our progress towards the goals that we have in life. Otherwise, we feel like we're not making enough progress. And in that article, I mentioned that progress check is actually very important. By looking back at, let's say, the last year, you can ask yourself, so, all right, things were quite tough. We were living the new normal, and a year has gone by, and I would like to look back and ask myself, was that a worthwhile, year for me personally? Because believe it or not, it doesn't matter what happens outside. All that really matters is what you do with what happens outside. Most of us, unfortunately, we like to blame the circumstances. So when things are going bad, we like to blame them like, you know what? My life is terrible because of this and this and this and that. But the fact of the matter is that it's really not so much about what happens outside. Yes, those things do play a role, but the real impact is when you start, making decisions about what to do with those things. That's, what will change ultimately your destiny and your future. And in that article, I mentioned that it's, very crucial to have that, always looking for the next progress check to make sure that we are on the right track. You see, it is said that what gets measured gets done. And I firmly believe in that. I believe that if you want to make the most of your success in any area of your life, you have to start measuring your progress. Because the fact of the matter is that you will not always make positive progress. There are going to be times in life when you feel like you're backtracking or you're getting away from what truly matters. This could happen in all ventures. Maybe you just started your business and realize you're spending a lot of your time doing things that don't necessarily get you closer to your business objective. Or perhaps, you're focused on a specific type of studying that does not really help you get the result that you want. Or maybe in your relationships, you're focused on certain things that are not contributing to the main factor. I mean, this happens all the time. We see people who are engaged with things that are unimportant at the expense of, leaving things behind that are important. And that is why it's so important to commit yourself to having regular progress check in all the things that you would like to pursue over the long haul. Because in that sense, you will kind of know that, yes, I am now on the right track. So as I mentioned in the article, a year has gone by with the new norm. And a lot of the times, we tend to somehow look back and say oh man, I feel so bad about the year that went by. It was the worst year of my life. 2020 was the worst year out ever, or in the history, or whatever it is. Those types of statements usually come from people who perhaps didn't really commit to making the most of whatever happens in their environment. You see, you cannot always wait for the environment to go in a way that you want it. Understand the universe is indifferent towards human existence. And once you understand that notion, and if you want to learn more about that, of course, there's a great book called Flow by the psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi to understand why it is important to be more flexible and to start making your decisions in a way that takes into consideration all the possible scenarios that could go wrong. Because understand, that's life. In life, not everything goes well or according to plan. There are going to be some oops, what happened moments in life. And if you are somehow not flexible enough and are not the kind of person who takes responsibility for how he or she feels, then obviously you'll fall victim to whatever is happening. So if things are going wrong, as they did during the last year, then you somehow go wrong with it, right? So progress checking is the habit of making sure you do not fall on that trap. So basically, let's say you had a specific goal. And think of the year before all of these things happened, okay? Let's go back to 2019, 2018, and ask yourself, what kind of goals did I have back then? And what kind of goals did I commit myself to having over the long haul? And then look back and somehow realize why you came up with those goals. Now, fast forward to today. So, how much progress have you made? It's like, well, then, I don't know, all of my goals were actually just thrown away after the pandemic happened because I just can't do them anymore, right? Well, that is just an excuse. And the reason that you feel you're perhaps too far away from your goal today than you were a year ago, it's because you stopped measuring your progress. You stopped looking at the compass. Am I walking towards my personal north, whatever that north might be? Or am I going south or east or west or whatever? So the progress check mindset is simply about giving you, that mindset that whatever you want to achieve in life, especially if it's a big goal, if it's a meaningful goal, it is going to take a long time. And you simply cannot expect the world and the universe and all other people and, animal kingdom and all whatever there is out there to be on your side the entire time, 24/7, until you arrive at your goal. That just never happens. Things will always go wrong. There's always going to be some, oops, what happened moments, I call them, right? So these are the facts that you have to, come across, whether it's losses, whether it's pandemics, whether it's economic crises, whether it's political issues. We all are going to have to deal with these problems on a regular basis. We can't, have any control over those things. Those things fall outside of the sphere of our control. We simply cannot control those things. It's kind of like weather. You just can't necessarily, there might be some technologies that might allow us to somehow manipulate the weather somehow, but still, for the most part, the weather is out of our control. And so are many of the other things in life. However, there are many things under your control, and those things are indeed enough to allow you to make progress towards achieving all of your goals. So today, I want to encourage, somehow all of you guys to focus on asking yourself the question of, am I making progress towards my goals? And make this a habit, not just for today, but make this a habit. Why not, set aside, one day a week just to look back at the week that went by. Let's call it the goal achievers, for example, Sabbath, right? It doesn't have to be like a Saturday. It could be a Sunday, could be a Monday, whatever day, you would like to put it. In the Muslim world, it could be a Friday. I don't know. It all depends on yourself. You can choose one day where you sit down and ask yourself, am I getting closer to my goals or am I getting away from it? Did I spend the last 7 days of my life in a way that makes me feel happy? Or do I feel like I somehow wasted a little bit too much time? Do I feel like I really, got the most out of my last week? Or did I spend just a little bit too much time on social media? Or perhaps I could have done a bit more writing and reading and a little bit less, Netflix. You should simply ask yourself these questions, right? And once, these types of questions are asked regularly by you, eventually you will have a mindset that allows you to simply stay focused on your goals. And this could occur in any environment. Just imagine the year that went by. If you literally have done the exact same thing, imagine all those weeks and months that went by in sorrow and angst and hopelessness and anger and frustration. Imagine if you had to spend that time instead trying to ask yourself, what are my goals? What goals can I achieve during this tough time? And am I getting closer or away from them? So this mindset is what I'm trying to encourage you guys to do from today. Understand, whatever is happening in your life, please do know, we call this the Pareto Principle, the majority of the factors that will ultimately influence whether you achieve your goal or not are out of your control. I repeat that. the majority of all the elements that will determine whether you can achieve your goal or not, whatever that goal might be, are out of your control. This means whether you want to start a business and become profitable, whether you want to find the right person to get married, whether you want to perhaps, travel, whether you want to migrate to a new country, to start learning a new skill, perhaps, going back to school, getting a degree, whatever you want to go for, losing weight maybe. The majority of the factors could be in this case, could be your genetics, other people's reactions. Just because you want to start a business, it doesn't mean that the economist, hold on a second. There's this guy by the name of Tom who wants to start a business. Okay, so I'm the economy. I am not going to experience an economic recession because this one guy wanted to start his business. Okay, the economy. Okay, the economy. Please, no crisis for 5 years because this little guy right here wants to start his business. That's never going to happen. Just because you want to, find the right person. It's like, oh man, I saw that, girl, or I saw that boy, and I just wanted to have a great, awesome relationship with him or her. And then he doesn't love me or she doesn't love me. Well, I'm sorry. You got to put yourself out there. But for the most part, whether you're going to be liked by the other person is pretty much out of your control. You're saying, well, Dan, I don't know. I was born fat. I don't know. It's like my bones are big. I don't know. Dude, yes, your genes and genetics are out of your control. These are all true. These are all great examples of all the myriad of factors that are out of your control when it comes to achieving your goals. But here's the good news. Those things that are under your control, let's call them the critical few things, the 20% of the things that are under your control, those are all you need to actually achieve your goals. So yes, in all pursuits, in all goals, and in all basically missions in life, the majority of the factors that will influence you getting there will be out of your control. But the most important ones are always under your control. And what are those things? Number one is your mindset. Understand in this world, you might not be able to influence everything, but you certainly can influence your mind and your way of thinking. That's the first step. And of course, that is the origin of all greatness. Great individuals think differently than those who are not. It's a simple fact. And if you want to change your life, you got to understand that the way you think has a humongous impact on whether or not you will achieve that goal or not. That always is within your control. Yes, you can find yourself in an economic recession. Yes, you can find yourself in the middle of a pandemic. Yes, you could be rejected by a lot of clients or by the banks or whatever it is. Yes, you can find yourself at the wrong end. But if you have the right mindset, you can get out of that situation pretty easily. You say, well, I better try just one more time. Or yeah, it is a pandemic, but there are going to be a lot of great opportunities here that I will never, ever find once the pandemic is over. Oh my gosh, I heard about the vaccine stories. These guys are going to end the pandemic soon, and I'm going to lose this opportunity. One man's nightmare is another man's fortune, right? So once you understand that the way you think has a huge influence on your results, you're not going to be so reactive to the environment, like, oh my gosh, what happened? Or what did she say? Or all that. You're going to be, living with your, inner locus of control. The second influence is the amount of effort that you're willing to exert. That's right. If you want to get a lot of things done, part of the reasons why a lot of us, we get frustrated in these situations is because we're lazy. It's because we know that we have to do, something extra. We have to perhaps leave the comfort zone yet again and learn new skills and, go the extra mile to do the same things we could have done with far less energy if there was no pandemic or if there was no economic crisis or if there was no whatever it is, right? So the other issue is effort. You have to understand that the degree to which you're willing to, put more energy and time into something, the higher your chances of achieving it. So, yes, maybe you didn't get lucky. Maybe you were at the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe you worked really hard for that one idea, which was then stolen or rejected by the investors. But if you are willing to increase the amount of effort that you would like to put into this, nothing can stop you. If you put aside that laziness and say, you know what, I could get unlucky, but I'm going to just keep pushing, man. I'm going to keep pushing no matter what happens. That mindset of always push on and move on, that is what is missing in a lot of us. Because, let's be honest, we kind of want to take it easy. It's like our nature. We want to do the very least necessary to get our, needs met. And in these tough situations, that, unfortunately, nature kicks in, makes us all unhappy. It's like, now I got to work twice as hard to make the same money I used to make before the crisis. Well, what's going to happen if you don't work twice as hard? That's right, you're going to make half as much. So is that going to be okay? You see, once you start realizing that the amount of effort that you make does play a major role, then you're ready to somehow overcome all the challenges. And you will not be affected so much by these changes. You will embrace them more easily because you know you're not lazy and you know you're willing to make the effort necessary to get the job done. What is the last element? That's right. That is called your social circle. You see, in tough moments in life, it is always easier to go through these tough moments with the help of a few loved ones around you that you really like, trust, and would like to spend time with. You see, the pandemic unfortunately made us a little bit less social, but please do understand that it does really matter who you surround yourself with. In all these tough moments, if you have some people to turn back to and to spend some time with, to alleviate the pain and the frustration and the suffering, you realize it is not going to be as hard as you thought to go through the entire process. So I would like to encourage you to take your social circle seriously and to try to take care of it, because in tough moments, the worst thing is to find yourself alone and isolated, because in that case, you're a lot less likely to go through with it. And once you work on building solid, good relationships filled with trust, mutual respect, and understanding, in these tough moments, things get a lot easier. So once you somehow put all these three together, you realize that the way you think has a huge influence. You realize that the amount of effort you make and the amount of action that you take will play a huge factor. And you also realize the importance of your social circle. You understand that even though these three things are not as big as all the other things that go wrong, they are more than enough to help you achieve all of your goals in all possible situations and circumstances. So that's all the time we have for guys. I hope that this short talk inspired you to start taking action, to start changing the way you think, and more importantly, to start developing your the quality and the quantity of your friendships and relationships. This is going to hopefully allow you to go through all of these challenges ahead. And please remember to always keep checking your progress. Am I getting closer, or am I getting away from my goal? And once you keep track of that regularly, you realize that it becomes a lot easier to stay on course and to achieve your goals. Thank you for listening. This was Beyond the Present podcast, and I am Daniel Mulligan. Have a good one.